Greg, you're in the home stretch of pulling off one of the biggest deals in aerospace history. You're close to becoming the owner of Rockwell Collins. Now, how does this $30 billion acquisition reshape United Technologies?
I've been in the aerospace business 29 years now. We have been talking about Rockwell as the premier property in aerospace for my entire career. But what Rockwell brings to UTC is something that we just never had before, which is the digital cockpit. Rockwell brings a whole different skill set. You're talking about the engineers that know how to do software in the cockpit. They do avionics, they do communications, they do displays. And it gives us the ability with Rockwell to connect the whole airplane now and to figure out how we can best serve the customers in terms of taking all that data and improving the customer experience.
Well, at the same time that all this exciting stuff is going on, you've been telling investors that you might break up the company. Tell us why. And you're pretty serious about it, too.
When you have a $12 billion elevator business and an $18 billion climate control business like Carrier, they're big enough to stand on their own. And as we've looked at the universe, I think there's been 74 spins in the last 10 years in the U.S. For the most part, the spun companies do better because of focus.
I understand you've been getting pressure from two big-name activist investors, too, Bill Ackman, Daniel Loeb. What are they telling? What do they want to see happen?
They want to see the stock price go up.
And it's been going up, actually. Investors seem to be happy. I mean, I think your stock is up 9% so far this year.
Yeah, so I think they've obviously seen a return, but I think both of them, they share my view that focus companies do better over the long term. And so they have not put a lot of pressure on. We've obviously spoken to Mr. Ackman and Mr. Loeb a number of times and their folks. Their whole point, though, is that UTC, despite its success, would probably do better if you had three separate businesses as opposed to one big business. And the conglomerate discount that you hear about so much would probably go away.
So let's say you do this breakup. How do you see the future of these new individual companies? Do you think that they will be able to innovate better? Will it be easier for them to make decisions, faster to make decisions, easier to recruit some top talent? How do you see it playing out?
The speed of decision making improves, the capital structure can be tailored to their individual business, but also the opportunity for their people is greater, right? They're going to grow faster, I believe, faster decision making, more nimble organization, all of those things going to create more opportunities for the people and more value, I think, for our share owners.
Let's talk about plan B of reinvention. Let's say that you don't break up United Technologies, and here you are, $66 billion company, more than 200,000 employees, operations in almost 200 companies. What would the future look like for UTC?
So I don't think the future would be significantly different than what we see today. I mean, if you think about it, with Rockwell Collins, we'll go from $65 to $75 billion in sales. We'll go from 210,000 to 240,000 people. There is strength in those numbers, and the financial strength of a UTC will be unsurpassed. If we decide to stay together, if we decide that it makes more sense, I don't think that changes anything. We still want to get out. We want to empower people. We want to give people the chance to take risks, to make decisions, to improve the customer experience.
Mm-hmm. But will you be that nimble, innovative company?
Well, can you ever be nimble at 240,000? I think the answer is, you're as good as you let your people be.
You've spent most of your career at this company, and you've been CEO for the last 4 of them. What would you say is the single most important thing that you've had to learn as CEO as the best way to lead a company that's going through a transformational journey? I mean, how are you reinventing the CEO job?
I have tried to tell people, look, I am not perfect. I will make mistakes. We will make mistakes. And the question is, can you learn from them and can you do better? And I think that's the thing that people want to see, is not that the CEO is perfect. They want to see that the CEO is human and that he understands, right, to learn. I've always thought there are some things that are most important in leadership, and the first thing is know yourself. Know what your strengths are, know what your weaknesses are. And secondly, you need to have empathy for people. You need to be able to understand where people are coming from, because people's motivations are different. And without that empathy, you can't have good leadership.
Do you see yourself as the change agent for this 84-year-old company?
Well, I like to think of myself as the propulsion agent behind the change. The fact is the change is not going to come from me, it's going to come from everybody within UTC. The fact is what I want to do is instill people a sense of urgency, to get things done, to move along quickly, not to ponder decisions, but make decisions, make mistakes, it's okay. The thing that I can do best, I think, is instill that sense of urgency.